X-Men Dark Phoenix is coming out in a few weeks, and since that film is continuing the stories of younger Professor X and Magneto, I've decided to review some of the X-Men films, focusing on the younger versions of Professor X and Magneto, and those films being First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse before X-Men Dark Phoenix comes out. Let's start things off with X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class is an X-Men prequel that came out in 2011, directed by Matthew Vaughn and stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and Kevin Bacon. This is the origins of both Charles Xavier / Professor X, played by James McAvoy, and Eric Lehnsherr / Magneto, played by Michael Fassbender. Set in the 1960s during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Charles and Eric unite to recruit and form a team of mutants to stop a man that Eric has been wanting revenge on ever since his childhood, named Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon, before World War III starts. Now, I would like to give you guys my thoughts on the previous X-Men movies that came before this movie. The first X-Men movie, I liked it. It was a good start to the franchise. It helped make comic book movies popular in the early 2000s with this and the Spider-Man movies, and with a great cast of Ian McKellen as Magneto, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and in particular Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Fun action, good visuals, although maybe a bit dated today, I still like this movie and a good start to the franchise. X2, X-Men United, I think it's better than the first movie. Better action, better visuals. I like that we got to see more of Wolverine's backstory, and Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler was awesome in this movie, and I loved his opening sequence at the White House. That was awesome. And I think this is a good superhero sequel. X-Men The Last Stand, and honestly, I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's great, nor as good as the first two. I think the action and the visuals are great, and the cast is great too, and especially Kelsey Grammer as Beast, who was amazing in that role. However, I felt like the story was uneven. It didn't know whether we wanted to be about the Mutant Cure or the Phoenix Saga. The story felt uneven. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad movie. I can watch this movie and be entertained, but it is one of the weaker X-Men movies. And X-Men Origins Wolverine, however, terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Awful action, awful effects, and what they did with Deadpool, yeah, just crappy movie. And now X-Men First Class, and I remember back in 2011, just like, I wasn't really sure it needed another X-Men prequel. The trailers were good, the cast looked good, and the director Matthew Vaughn, who directed the very good superhero movie Kick-Ass, is directing this movie, so maybe this movie could be good. And when I saw this movie back in 2011, I was blown away. It's just like, that was a really good movie, and I love this film for years. I haven't rewatched this film in years, and I decided to give this film a rewatch for this review, and I still think it holds up very well. X-Men First Class is a great superhero movie, definitely one of the best in the X-Men franchise. First, the performances from the cast are great. In particular, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are fantastic. And James McAvoy has been a good actor before this movie. He was great in Atonement, I liked him in Wanted, and I remember him as Mr. Tumnus in The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I remember he was in that movie, and he's been a good actor, and this film reminded me why I think he's a good actor. Definitely buy him as the younger version of Professor X, and how highly intelligent he is. He's charming, and him trying to be a good leader, forming this mutant team with Eric, and James McAvoy was amazing as young Professor X, and Michael Fassbender was fantastic in this movie, and this was the first film I've ever noticed Michael Fassbender in, and when I was 12 years old, I never saw Inglourious Basterds at that age. When I saw this movie in 2011 and noticing Michael Fassbender for the first time, I was just like, this guy's a good actor. He's going places. And he definitely went places as an amazing actor. And along the years with terrific performances in 12 Years a Slave and Steve Jobs, he's been an amazing actor. He definitely made Magneto a compelling character in this movie with his sad backstory. He had an awful childhood, and you understand why he wants to get revenge on Sebastian Shaw. And if you had told me that McAvoy and Fassbender, just by watching this movie, and they would become Patrick Stewart as Professor X and Ian McKellen as Magneto in the future, and I would believe you instantly. Both of them were absolutely amazing in this movie. I love their chemistry. They had excellent chemistry together. I love their engaging conversations. I think both of them were perfect casting. There are some pretty good performances too. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique in this movie, and this was the first film I've ever noticed Jennifer Lawrence in, and she would continue to be a talented actress over the years. She was good as Mystique in this movie. Rose Byrne is good. Nicholas Hoult is good as Beast. Performances are good. And also, Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw. What a great villain. I loved his cool powers, how he's able to absorb energy. I loved his connection with Eric Lehnsherr, and he was a great target for the X-Men to go after. And Kevin Bacon was just an amazing villain in this movie. He looked like he was having a lot of fun in this role. I would say him and Pierce from Logan are my favorite villains in the X-Men franchise. I don't know if I count Magneto. He's more of an anti-hero than a villain in my opinion. But nevertheless, Kevin Bacon was an amazing villain in this movie. What makes this movie work is Matthew Vaughn. He definitely gave the X-Men franchise a breath of fresh air. Definitely a step up from two films that were disappointing. Not only making a very fun and entertaining superhero movie with good action, good visuals, but also really nailing the 1960s with the Cuban Missile Crisis, and when Kennedy was president, he absolutely nailed the 1960s setting in this movie, and I thought it worked for this movie. And I also want to mention something. Wolverine's cameo in this movie, comedic gold. It was absolutely hilarious. I remember first seeing that in theaters in 2011. It was just absolutely hilarious. That is one of the funniest cameos I have ever seen. Also, Henry Jackman's score was amazing in this movie, and in particular, Magneto's theme in this movie, I absolutely love that score. It's amazing, it's intense, it gets me pumped up. I absolutely love the music in this movie. As for issues, I would say two. One, I wasn't really a fan of January Jones' performance as Emma Frost. I thought her acting was pretty bad whenever she showed up, just not really a fan of Emma Frost in this movie whenever she showed up. While the effects are pretty good for the most part, there are a few fake and iffy looking effects here and there. But that's about it. An otherwise terrific superhero movie. Definitely one of the best X-Men films, and I wish Matthew Vaughn would direct more X-Men films in the future, since this is sadly the only X-Men film he directed. And I wish he directed more X-Men films. He did a great job giving this franchise a step up from two lackluster films. Amazing acting, particularly James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. Fun action, good visuals. This is what a great superhero movie should be, and definitely one of the best in the X-Men franchise. Overall, I am going to give X-Men First Class 4.5 stars out of 5. A great superhero movie, and also a great film in general. One of my favorite films of 2011. If you haven't rewatched this film in a while, and if you're thinking about rewatching it, definitely give it a rewatch. It is an awesome movie. Next up on my X-Men reviews of the younger versions of Professor X and Magneto is X-Men Days of Future Past. I am very excited to review that one. That review will be coming soon. So what do you guys think of X-Men First Class? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.